Y'all thought it was bullshit. Y'all thought it was a game. I told you we was gonna have part two. And Les is a girl of her word.
Always. I show up on time and I'm a woman of my word. Absolutely.
Yes, because I was running late and she cannot hide emotions on her face. I looked at her face when I was like, I'm sorry, Les, I saw her face. She's like,
that, and without you knowing, that literally is like one of my pet peeves. And not to, but that is like, even with my friends, they know that I am on time for everything. And if I'm never on time, it's because it's an act of God. So, but it's all good. You texted me. We're good.
It's helping me. I need people like Les in my circle. See how I'm trying to cultivate, bring all in. All right, what's going on, everybody? This is part two with the one and only Leslie, Big Les Segar. Is it Segar?
Segar. Just spell it right on the check. It's good.
I gotta make sure I'm saying it right, because if you're from the island or something, I say it wrong. It's like, woo.
No. It's
Where
good.
your parents originally from?
Augusta, Georgia. My mama and my dad from New York.
Did they meet in New York?
Yeah.
And a country girl.
Mm-hmm.
Did your mama?
And she was. She's from Augusta. She's country.
She cook?
She doesn't sound country. Oh, she can cook, and I can cook too. I don't enjoy cooking, but I can cook.
All right, guys. Just letting you know. Okay.
I can.
All right. So when we left off, I wanted to jump into the whole piece about, and some people may not know why I call you a hip hop icon. At the time when I was those that came up watching the man, the 90s was such a fly time. Just everything from music production to movies we just looked good. And I say that because I was talking to some, being here in Hollywood and California, talking to producers and Black producers and stuff like that. It was like, for you to do the intro for a show like Living Single, the content that Eddie was putting out during our Boomerang and stuff like that, Strictly Business and Living Large, all these different movies and stuff that were showing us anything Spike touched. We look good. The music videos, dressed, the way they were driving, they became small movies. The choreography of hip hop videos was what kept the streets. I mean, prior to the 90s, just think about what Crush Groove and Beat Street, especially what Beat Street did for just hip hop dance and everything that was going on. So you are definitely a pioneer, because without you and what you brought to bring that club feel to the hip hop video and everything that was going on, amazing. You go through the 90s, 2000s, you're doing choreography, you're doing fitness. I'm sure you work with a lot of other people. They pulling on you for choreography, especially after. How did Remember the Time come about?
Remember the Time happened, again, a struggling dancer in New York. A lot of the stuff was in the trades, but we got word of mouth. And when I say we, meaning the guy dancers, the club, everybody who's doing music videos in that time, heard that the auditions were on Saturday. It was like a Thursday night when we found out. And there must have been about 15 or 20 of us who all kind of were hanging out in Washington Square Park, like, oh my God. So I was broke, and I was like, Mom, please, I need money for a ticket. I'm telling you, it's Saturday. If I can fly out tomorrow, I'm going to book it. I'm telling you, Mom. And even though Fatima and I at the time were friends, she couldn't guarantee anybody a job. She was, the choreographer and stuff. And John Singleton, who I think I had not really met, but I knew he was a fan of dancers and dancing. So was able to get to LA the next day, auditioned, and he came in a room and took literally 90% of the New Yorkers who showed up for the audition, who was able to get on a plane. And it literally had to be the best experience of my life. We were in rehearsals for about 3 weeks. We didn't see Michael until maybe 2 days before we actually were going to go to set to start shooting. And when he came in, his version of what we learned looked completely different. He was funky, he was hitting, he was grooving. And we were like, we need more rehearsals because we don't look like that. And, we had to sign paperwork that was the size of a phone book. And don't look at him, don't talk to
Don't
him.
touch. I was about to say, don't cough on Mike. Don't touch his foot.
Right. No cameras, like all of that stuff. But as most artists, they always gravitate to the dancers because we're the cool kids. We're always in the corner creating, and everybody loves our energy. And we're not caught up in the fame of who people are. And so they always end up hanging out with us. And that's how Michael was too. He hung out with the dancers. He spoke with his low tone, but he'd be like, "Fuck that man." You know what I mean? And you'd be like, "Oh my God, Michael cursed." But then you get
He was like,
yeah, but being
"Yeah,
on
I'm down with all this, man."
right, but being on that set, first time walking into a major studio, every day you see the big Universal Studio sign, and every day I'm on a sound stage, and then every day somebody new shows up. I mean, we already had Eddie Murphy and Iman and Magic Johnson, but all the visitors who came, it was just crazy. And I wish I had it. We couldn't have cameras, so I couldn't even document the moment, But it was a great project for me. Really good.
So you come from that living. Which came first? That or living? That came after Living Single.
Remember the Time came first.
Came first. Okay. So Living Single. Towards the end of the '90s into the early 2000s, what were you mainly focused on?
I was still doing Rap City and radio at the same time.
Right.
So been in LA doing radio, which I've been doing for like 6 years, probably around that time, and still doing Rap City, not traveling as much, but doing both at the same time. But not much dancing and probably not much choreography either, really picking and choosing.
Right. Right. So when did you, and hip hop head, you got a love for the music. How about now? What are some of your artists? Do you like the new artists now? Do you like what's happening?
There's a period where hip hop became disposable music, where you're not attached to anyone, not emotionally affected by anyone, where they're just one hit wonders. They can go in one ear and out the other. Where I'm doing radio and I have to hear the same rotation of music every 2 hours, and I'm like, oh my God, I want to slip my wrist because these artists do nothing for me. And here I am knowing all the words to songs that I don't love. So it's been really tough. And then you start to kind of find there's a whole new wave of people, and you pick out your nuggets. So when you get like a Meek Mill or like a Megan or a Chance or certain Kanye or whoever starts to come around, then you're like, okay. But I still don't think even those artists affect me the way the 90s artists did, those storytellers did. But I'm sure our parents say the same thing about, the Motown music versus the R&B that came from the 70s and the 80s. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
It happens. I just don't want to be that old person who's mad, like, take me back to the 90s. Like, I'm open to everything. And I really actually listen to a lot of alternative music. Like, Sting is my number one artist. Seal is my number one artist. So I listen to a lot of everything and everybody. But when it comes to hip hop and R&B, I tend to scrutinize a little bit more.
Right. And have you talked on any circuits as of yet pertaining to? Have you been at any of the Revolt conferences? I know they do a couple things on the state of hip hop, things like that. Have you been to any of those sessions yet?
No, I mean, I watched them, but I haven't been asked, so I haven't been.
So,
I like what they're doing, and I'm glad that Puffy is, picking off where Jack the Rapper and Impact and all those other conventions, left off, so that this whole new generation learns what it is. Because really, they'll still never get what the long form of hustle is versus the touch button of hustle. You know what I mean? But if he can share some of those stories with people who have that knowledge of longevity and consistency, which are absolutely the key to getting to the next level, then he's doing the right thing. And for a minute, I thought, Puff was like, when he started Revolt, he didn't want anybody who wasn't young and under 25 as a host on their show. And I'm going, this is an opportunity, because you could be bridging the gap. You, of all people, should be bridging the gap with people like myself. And then you see a wave of the Joe Buddens and the Andre Harrells and all the 40 and overs actually coming, and then teaming them up with maybe a millennial or whatever, so that you can bridge the gap. So finally, I'm glad that has surfaced.
So what what would you like your next piece to be? And we'll get to the other things because you got to go back and watch. If you're just watching part 2, you got to go back and watch part 1. Because I'm going to get to some of the other things that you're doing now. But are there any things or pet projects or passion projects that you still want to do concerning hip hop in and of itself, or hip hop and dance or choreography? Is there anything that you really, outside of your book? I know you're working on your book. I know you're working on the memoir. So,
well, I'm working on a lot of things. I'll start with a passion project in a box that I haven't been able to check off yet. Is I've always wanted to be that next Pam Grier, that female action hero. And while I can still flip, I'm like, God, please let that happen for me. You know what I mean? Let me do a little bit of my own stunts. Let me just kind of move into that role. So obviously I have to work on, at this point, create my own script and all that other stuff and try and get a way to shoot it or get some funding for it. What I'm actually working on is I've been shooting the dance documentary of women of the 90s. And, I got Bobby Brown, and I was just getting ready to get Teddy. And then all of a sudden, obviously, this pandemic shut stuff down. So now we have to figure out another creative way to shoot people. Do I want to shoot them on a Zoom format? Because now it's a whole other liability of people in the room and camera, hair, makeup, and all that other stuff of trying to get the story told. So, but I'm still working on that because I have to put my Debbie Allen hat on and turn into producer director. I have been in talks with Shakim, who is, as you know, Queen Latifah's partner. They were working on a musical for Romeo and Juliet, a hip hop musical. And I'm hoping and praying that I can be a part of that, not necessarily on the choreography tip, but on the acting tip. That's a play that I actually had done like in high school. So if I could revisit one of the roles in this modern version and have a 5-day-a-week gig to lace up my dance shoes, I actually would take it.
So right now, and now we can float into it. And I've seen you in acting. You're a phenomenal host. You got the voice, you got the energy. That's, you look great on camera. Acting. So Pam Grier, how far do you want to take the acting piece? Obviously the action piece is a part of your personality and stuff like that. But do you want to do more dramatic roles? Are you open to stuff like that? What?
My most favorite role of an actor, not most, but one that sticks out to me is when Halle Berry played the crackhead in Jungle Fever. That to me is a defining role for her, where it just takes her completely out of character and is convincing. And it didn't have to be a big role. I could do it. I would love something like that transforms me into something that's unrecognizable for people to see me outside of it. And I have that problem when I walk into an audition, especially if there are like a lot of Black female casting directors, because everybody's like, Les, I'm like Norma Cheers, because I've known them since the beginning of their careers. And it's hard to make them believe that I can be anything else. And they all want to talk to me about what's going on and so and blah, blah, blah. And it takes me, like, I have to be in control of being in character and shutting that down. But I have a different experience when I go into the room with white casting directors than I do with the Black casting directors. And so I just need to put myself out there. I need to be more committed when I walk into the room. And at this point, that's changed too, because they look at people not so much for their talent, but for their followers and how popular they are. And that's the thing that drives me bananas now, is that there's so many talented actors who should be working. But because I didn't punch somebody in the face on a reality show and have 3 million followers, they'd rather go with them than with me. And even though they could give a subpar performance, their whole followers will come to the movies. They'll buy the soundtrack. That's the money coming to the table. My thing is if you put me in a film or if you put me on this TV show, then I'll have 1 million followers by the end of the week anyway. You know what I mean? Like, let's just work it out. But nobody thinks like that. So you have to really come in with your talent first to make it undeniable. As a dancer, I believe it, and as an actor, I believe it. Now, even more so now.
Very much so. So, the fitness piece. You seem to found, well, you've always had a niche for fitness, obviously. I see you doing something. Is it the Fox on Fox News? You do the blurbs, the fitness blurbs, or what would you like to do next with your fitness as far as?
It's interesting. I'm on the fence about my fitness. And it's crazy because it's one of the things that people have asked me about for so many years. And I've had like, back in the day, I had like 3 major deals to do like fitness videos and fitness whatever. And companies went under, holding my properties. Like it was all this stuff. And now the whole internet is saturated with so much fitness. But what I want to do is, one, I love to dispel the fact that there's workouts for men and workouts for women. I used to teach a lot of boot camps. I'm a YMCA child. So in between gigs and, you know, even within the last couple of years, I would teach boot camps, a series of boot camps at these Ys. And the men who I finally got to come to my class within the first 15 minutes are dead. Can't breathe, tired, jello legs, the whole bit. They were like, oh, we didn't know. And the girls was running circles, pushing, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm going, yeah, you can't just think because a woman is teaching or because you see women, a majority of women, that the class is not hard or effective. So I may want to do something like that on the intermediate advanced level of special workouts, and maybe branch out into like a whole fitness line. And, you know, I was trying to team up with a lot of, you know, companies, and I don't want to say yet because we've been in talks. And so until the ink dries, that will help women in my demographic show that we are the new 30, we are the new 20, you know what I mean? Or that because you've had this birthday, that suddenly life is over, and that's not the case, right. You know? So I'll see where that takes me, but it's, as I don't want to say as good as I am or knowledgeable as I am in that arena and as committed, or, you know, people know that this has been part of my journey. It's not first on my list for me, you know? Having my Ryan Seacrest and Oprah Winfrey contract where I can produce content and have that deal like my counterparts like Sway and Terrence J and all of that, so I can produce the content for music and all these other things that I want to do, is still my first love. If I get another opportunity to lace up my dance shoes, absolutely. I feel crazy because I've been home without the nails and my hands look crazy, so forgive me, y'all. So self-conscious about it. It's a shame.
You know, guys just looking at you like, what's wrong with her hand? She's like, my nail. I'm sorry, baby. Ain't nobody worried about your daggone nail.
Oh my God, my nails are always, but okay.
Believe me, people mad enough at you. Like, look at her arms, look at her face, her lips, she's popping. So what all could you say to people, especially coming off this time like this? Because a lot of people, and I know you're a human like everybody else. You go through shit like everybody else. You got your ups and downs like everybody else. But what keeps you happy?
It's interesting time. I mean, I wake up happy. I'm just happy to be breathing. I'm just happy to have family and friends who love me and check up on me. And I'm quarantined by myself. I don't have a dog running around. Unfortunately, there are no kids running around. The man got put out. Like, so I'm in here by myself. So thank God, like, you know, I still go out to bike, but this is the time for me to, whatever this moment is and the reason why I am by myself, I find myself, whether it's purging and cleaning house or starting new projects, you know, I need to focus a little harder. I took 9 years of French and I can still read it and write it, but hearing it is different now because they speak in slang as opposed to proper French. So I'm trying to relearn that. I know a little bit of sign language and I'm trying to master that. So I guess this is the time now to really like focus on that, focus on me writing this book. And, you know, the things that normally make me happy are the things I can't do right now, which are, you know, the athletic stuff, trapeze. I drove, you know, jumping out of planes and all that other stuff. Like, that's just who I am on a daily basis. Like, I live for sweating.
Adventure.
Adventure and traveling. I have been to 5 continents out of 7. I'm the passport queen. And the fact that I don't know when I can get on a plane again is killing me. I don't know, you know, so. But
so you have somebody asked, somebody saw the post and think, man, I wonder what happened to her. I was like, happened? she's been in some way, shape, or form involved with media, and like I said, the acting is. I would like to see you do some serious roles. I would like to see you do that. And you said Pam Grier wrote, and said the Romeo and Juliet piece was something key, but you would like to do something that when people looked up and like, that was who? That was Les? Oh.
Absolutely. But, you know, people always say that when they don't see someone on TV on a regular basis like they used to, they think that you've fallen off because nobody stops to read the credits. They didn't read the credits on the back of the album. They don't read the credits on the TV show where it could say created by, choreographed by, written by, produced by. And a lot of times, like I worked on the TV show The Breaks on VH1, choreographed
Right.
that, in different award shows, choreographed that, but I don't have a publicist blasting it. I didn't put it all on social media, but that doesn't mean me or the 20 other people that you've seen for 1,000 years have stopped working. We've just, are maturing and making different choices. And, sometimes we get stuck and we're on the bench. We suit up and we're in the NBA, but we're on the bench waiting to get back into the game. And that's to no fault of our own. Sometimes the phone just stops ringing, and it's happened to the biggest. If you hear, whether it's De Niro talking or Meryl Streep, that there was a point in their careers where the phone just stopped ringing, whether they got stereotyped or whatever. And it only takes one yes for a resurgence to happen, a new wave of something to happen, a spark in your career, just one yes that changes everything. So I'm just,
we remember the John Travolta. Remember John Travolta had a long nothing, and then all of a sudden Pulp Fiction comes.
Absolutely.
And he's back on the map. But before that, it was like we hadn't seen John Travolta in 20 years, 15 years, whatever it was. It was something. It was a stint.
Yeah.
But I guess the biggest thing in everything, in looking at your body of work, looking at the things you do, stuff like that. I'm still trying to figure out how old she really is, y'all.
25. Like the store. I would say Forever 21, but I'll say Forever 25.
But it's staying in your love, staying adventurous, staying active, traveling, you're loving, you love people, you love life. What are the main in projects? I try to tell everybody, don't let this time pass and it ends. And it's time to get back to the people who do a normal 9 to 5, a normal J. You're not a creative, but you've been talking about a book for 20 years. You've been talking about this. Don't let this time pass. And God is like giving you rest. Don't let this time pass where you don't activate the things you said you want. There's no excuse after this, because before this, people was like, oh, I don't have enough time. You got nothing but time for the past 3 months.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So coming out of this, of course, travel was big on Les' thing. The Pam Grier piece, that's not hard. Getting your stuff funded, that's not hard. I have an interview. I interviewed Mike Birkenbein. One of the things he specializes in helping people put together their feature film funding plan, and finding out that why a lot of things don't get done like that. You made a good point about creative. Being in Los Angeles, the same thing happened to me. You start learning, before I got to Los Angeles, I didn't even know extras got paid. You know what I'm saying? So when I came here, I was like, what? And then get on the set and you see SAG extras. Some of them make $300-400 a day walking back and forth, and they booking the next thing on their phone. It's like, no, I'm SAG. I was like, so he ain't said nothing. How much you get? I'll make $300 a day in it. And people don't realize that there's a whole industry that keeps moving. Coming off of this, a lot of people haven't had, they mentioned on Netflix that 60 to 75% of people watching content is up 60-75%. Some people say, oh, that's great for them. But you run out of content quicker. And you got 2 to 3 months where content hasn't been made. So coming out of this, a lot of stuff is going to be, I tell everybody who has a project, I was like, this is the time to get your stuff in order, because they're going to be looking hard, because everybody's wanting content after this. So you're creative, you have all these things in place. Family. You want to be married? You want to have kids? Is that in the cards for Les?
I mean, I pretty much have been married without the ceremony for the last 20-something years. I was in a long-term 5-year relationship, took a break. I just got out of a 17-year relationship. And have lived with them for 5 years. 17 years.
Still thinking Les in her 20s. I don't know what's going on.
And, we tried to have a family towards the end of that. And for some reason, God was like, not with him. And so we'll see what happens. Thank God we're in a new day and age where having a child can look like anything else, for women these days. whether it's, however that's going to come. And yeah, the next guy that I'm with is going to be somebody I don't have to elevate. Somebody who is going to elevate me and show me new things and be team Les and, all of that. Because I love, and I've chosen really good men initially on paper who are smart, who are creative, who are gifted, who are go-getters. Somewhere down the line, and I don't want to say most men put them in that category. They feel like, they want something else and the grass is greener on the other side. And of course, they realize that's not the case. And by the time they come crawling back and begging for your apology, you've already moved on and outgrown them or whatever. So I will not elevate another man at this point in my life. He's got to come already elevated or meet me at the same level, and we can grow from there. I need somebody who's ready to travel the world with me, somebody who's secure in who he is, who doesn't have any issues or anger issues or depression or smoke weed all day. Like, that's not my thing. Somebody who works out, who's an adventure seeker, and we'll see we'll see. I'm dating. My options are open, and yeah, I like where I'm at this point. So
y'all heard that right? I helped y'all out. No, but that's one of the things. I just did a shout out to my girl Neek Speeds and relationship conference. I just did a whole sex, love, and relationship piece. Mm-hmm. It's funny because one of the things I said on there about dating, I have a book about dating and stuff like that. And I say, well, you just got to be upfront with what you want. Close friend of mine, my daughter's godmother, she's young looking, this, that, and other, but she just turned 63. Mm-hmm. Gets with a guy that's older and well, not older, but gets with a guy and has a relationship, and she's like, well, Troy, I don't get, I don't get the whole flow of things. She was like, LA, I don't know what it means that we just dating. What does dating mean? What does that include? What is going on? I said, you just have to be specific with what you want. At the beginning, you're specific with what you want and stick to it. There's nothing wrong with, especially at this point in time in your life, you deserve to have that. So there's nothing, you know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with it. What happened? It's funny because when you kept saying elevator guy, I was like, what is she talking about, elevator guy? Meaning let you kind of play the background and make sure he gets the light. You kind of humble who you are to what I believe in compromising relationship if it's making sense. But
I've supported financially too, but I've supported two men in their careers where they've moved into my house, where I've helped them, purchase a car, pay for classes, and not to say that it wasn't reciprocated. I'm not a cash cow by any means, and not to say that, the men didn't take care of the house or do whatever they did. But I want someone who's further along in their career and financially comfortable, that it's not an issue. Or that I have to, I'm ride or die. And if he gets sick or if he comes out and doesn't have work for a while, then I got you. I got us. I'm cool with that. But I can't start over again where, this is at the beginning of another career and I got to hold us down for a second. I can't do that for a minute right now. So not elevator, but elevate. We can elevate together in the next level of something, but I just can't start from the ground level. That's all.
Now, did either one of your last propose?
No, the 17-year one, we talked about it a lot. And year 3, we had done probably what most married people still haven't done. We did our living trust, our life insurance policy, our health proxy, our long-term care, all of that stuff was done year 3 of our relationship. I think for us, or his father got married and divorced twice. We had been to I don't know, maybe 6 weddings, and at least 5 of the 6 people got divorced. So it was kind of well, what happens with people in this dynamic of marriage? And I'm not that chick, even as a little girl, who I'm not giving you an ultimatum. I'm not begging you to marry me. I didn't dream of a big wedding, but I felt and we moved like we were a married couple. And on paper, so eventually I was like, yeah, we'll get married. And he would call me, refer to me as his wife and whatever. And it was cool. And we talked about it. And I think we were in the midst of making plans. I just didn't know he was living another life. I just didn't know that there was I'm not a snooper. I'm not that chick. And if we don't argue really, we're still having date night. We're still having great sex. We're still traveling around the world together. And he was a homebody. He was home all the time if he wasn't on the road. And even if he was on the road, I usually was there with him. But the internet is a monster. So all the people or women that he may have met in other countries, he's having all this masturbation sex with, from this chick from Ireland, whatever, these 2, 3, 4, 5 year relationships. And on the weeks that I'm not meeting him in Spain, the other week he's flying somebody else out. And it took me finding out year 15 what was going on. And you know, he begged to stay and the whole bit. And I just was like, I talked to 12 couples, 12 married couples. 11 of the 12 said, you've been together 15 years at the time, or 16. Give it a try. Everybody messes up. See what forgiveness is like. Go to therapy. Therapy can either be the best thing or the worst thing for you. And for us, it was the worst because it put a spotlight on everything that happened. And whatever guilt he felt or shame he felt was magnified in therapy. He never wanted to go back, even if picking another therapist was an option. Cut to 3 or 4 months later, I discover another female that had been around for like 8 years, who lived in Australia. He was flying her around, like all this other stuff. And people are always like, well, how did you not know? Because I could call him 4 o'clock in Morocco and talk to him for 3 hours. I could call him while he was in China and talk to him for 2 hours, see the whole room. So either the chick is on the other side of the computer or he sends her to her room or wherever and then comes back. But he never skipped a beat, never called me a wrong name, never gave me a reason. I need something, it's there. It shows up, whether it's money, whether it's him, get his mother on the phone, whatever. So whatever he needed to do to keep me happy was done. So I had nothing to complain about or look for. So, but I don't take what's happened, and trust me, there was a lot of damage done that required therapy, because that TV show Snapped is a real thing. When the person that you looks you in your face every day has a knife in their hand and is lying to you, and when you see the physical evidence of the phone calls every day, whether it's on your birthday, on Christmas, whether it's every day where you were sitting there watching a Netflix movie and you see that the text happens all the time, you're like, how did this happen? And the thing is I want to say to men is that you don't have to be married. You don't have to be in a relationship. You don't even have to live with anyone. You can be a bachelor for the rest of your life without having to hurt somebody. You can. There are so many women out here who are on board with, yeah, he takes care of me, and you know, you can have a consistent one, or you can have 10, and everybody can know how you get down, and nobody's going to hold it against you. You can even choose to have a family with one and still be a single man without having to make all these promises and these lies. And when you start putting somebody's health at risk by having unprotected sex with all these women, then you're lucky that I didn't snap, because that's the kind of thing that makes a woman really, whatever, the key your car, slash your tires, whatever, that you didn't respect me enough to respect my health. You put me in danger in that way. And we're trying to have a family. So if you're fucking girls 20 years younger than me, or 15 years younger than me, or even 20 years younger than you, who can get pregnant like this, I got to worry about not only a disease, but another family. And then you begging to stay when I find out and on your knees, calming down, because I feel myself getting angry. But
you see me going.
Had you talked, because it's despicable and it's disgusting, and nobody deserves. You can't look at somebody in their face and say, I love you every day. Drop to your knees, please don't leave me, I'm sorry, and then still do the things that you do. Like to somebody.
Yeah, you can't go in. You said 15 years. You talked to 12 different couples. You got all these people. Plus, it's fucking embarrassing. If y'all don't, we passed the PC point. But it's fucking embarrassing, and it gets to a point where, you know, there's a piece that says, when I was a child, I act like a child. When I became a man, I put away childish things. It has to do with love. When you learn how to. Does he have any kids?
Nope.
There should be something that happens when you learn to love unconditionally. A lot of women divinely have this thing in them, whether they ever have kids or not. Women, I've met so many women. I did my sex, love, relationship conference. I've been doing it for 16 years. The books and talking to women. Women just are hardcore with it. And it took me having my daughter to really understand the unconditional love. But going through that, and it always makes me feel kind of weird when I hear somebody's been cheating, especially at that fucking level, and you traveling to do it, you doing this, you doing this, and Now I don't know. There's always three sides to every story. I'll be honest. His side, her side, and the truth. But for all intents and purposes of seeing the track record of what you do, same scenario. Les is handling her business. You're doing this, and you at your own admission said you played the background. You said, "Let me help. You know, this is my man. This is my man. Yes, I'm here. 17 years we're together." That's why when you said it, when we were talking and you mentioned it earlier, and I don't drop the dime on people. We talk, and Les was Les was open to go here for those who's watching. But I didn't know everything she broke down now. I'm very big. It's two things. You went to counseling because you talked to 12 couples. They said, hey, things happen. That's not based on people just wanting to see you stay together. That's based on these people must have known you in the relationship and seen how much you invested in, knew about your track record together, everything that's going on.
But some people didn't know about or know us personally. They were just talking based on their experiences. And it's different when you talk to older people versus younger people. Older people will tend to, from the old school, stay in a relationship just for companionship or whatever. My thing is
Everybody has their junk. Yeah.
3 words. I'm not happy. I want out. This ain't working. Those 3 words could have saved you 8 years or 10 years of cheating. You could have been out and I could have started a whole family with somebody else. I could have been with
But see,
somebody, and so could
that's
you.
not what you just said. I'm not happy. This ain't working. That's just what you said was just trifling. I don't even know, Kat, but you said, that's something different. That's not a mistake. That was a problem I had. People that said, "Oh, people make mistakes." No, this Negro traveled across the world and had a relationship 2 years running with. No. That's
So I
just
had to so I had to say to him, I said, so when did you start to hate me so much that the person who would give you a kidney, that you would do this to, that you would look me in my face and lie to me or put my health at risk? And it just got to a point where the minute I found out, I instantly took his name off of everything without saying a word. And then I said, okay, well, let me see what this forgiveness or therapy looks like. I'm the most unforgiving Sagittarius on the planet. So for me to even think about going to therapy was a hard choice. And I never had peace about it. Never. You don't stop looking. You got to leave town. Where you going? And I'm nobody's mother, you know? And I had to think, I'm going, okay, whatever I made you feel in this relationship, because I got privy to everything, the diary, the this, that, and the other. But I get it. If I fell into a depression because I wasn't working, the phone wasn't ringing, and I wasn't being my creative self, for somebody who's also in the same business, who's also been in that place where you weren't working and you were crying on the couch and I had your back, then you should be the one to be like, baby, snap out of it. I got you. We're going to get through this. Not, well, let me go start a family and look over here because she's over here crying or whatever it is. But
so that something that came out, the fact that he felt like he went outside a relationship when it seemed like you were going through depression, or you were just trying to figure out why?
he never said it. I got privy when I started finding out what was going on to his diary. And I read the things
Oh,
that
he kept a diary.
I read the things that he said I made him feel bad about or what was going on with me. So in reading that, I took my responsibility for that. But you don't get a pass on starting a relationship. You talk to me about it or you get the hell out of the relationship. If you're so miserable, then get the fuck out. Don't do all this harm and create all of this madness. And so even talking to the therapist after I put him out, I did not have peace. And this is what I say to women to empower them. You have to know.
That's what I was about to ask too.
Oh
Because
yeah.
people are looking at you. People are looking at you and it's like, oh, Lord knows I don't like that you had to go through it. But I love when people don't look like what they went through and will talk about it, because it's a bunch of women, hundreds of women watching this, thousands of women that may watch this, and they looking at you like, yeah, she got it going on. She just another. But now they know, oh, she just like me. So
Yeah.
how is she still here?
Oh yeah, and I've had a lot of high profile relationships. You never really see most of my stuff in the street like that because I keep it to myself. Even social media wasn't around during most of my high profile relationships. But one thing I say, and thank God for having a strong mother and a smart mother, is that because I owned a lot of property I was very clear about my assets being mine coming into this relationship, and then put him into the trust and all that other stuff. And like I said, I removed him before the separation. So I ended up there's no common law in California. I'll say one thing about myself is I'm a street smart and a book smart chick. And before I even let him know that I knew, I did my research on how this was going to play out. So I gave myself two options, the forgiveness option and the get the fuck out option. And this is how it's going to go down. So I had talked to a lawyer. I knew that there was no common law in California. Common law has not been around since probably the 1900s. And people think, oh, if you've lived together for 7 years, blah, blah, not the case at all. But if you've been living and representing yourself as a married couple that we did, there's what's called the Lee Marvin claim. There's a case that was called Marvin versus Marvin where they were living. And it doesn't have
Lee Marvin?
Lee Marvin claim or Marvin versus Marvin case. And, if you're living as not just a cohabitated couple, but as a married couple, then he, even without written contract, then there's a responsibility that has to happen. And I knew that. So I decided to sue him. I couldn't sue him based on the affairs. I could only sue him based on malicious intent to harm, putting my health at risk, making false promises, holding myself out for him because we had talked about marriage and because I had documents of everything, going through fertility, me being his sister's godmother on the baptism certificate, him making promises and putting money into my account after he moved out. And there's a lot of the case I'm not allowed to talk about, and I can only say settlement. But that's what gave me peace, is that all that extracurricular pussy you had just cost you so much money that and you're not even with either one of those girls that you said that you were so in love with or whatever the case is. But you'll think twice the next time you disrespect somebody, So, and that gave me peace. Because now, just because men can go out and start a whole new life and a whole new family, whatever, and here I am, I'm 40, 50 something years old, and my life looks different now. I can't start a family in a traditional way. And me giving you 17 years has a price on it. And there's never going to be any amount of money on this planet that will get me my time back, my fertility back, or heal or mend my broken heart in that way. But I am stronger for it. I will not be blaming or looking at the next man, with guilty eyes, because I didn't do that before. But I feel like that justice and that karma gave me the peace I needed in a settlement, because he didn't see it coming. So.
And you had grounds, and so you end up winning the case. You end up getting a settlement. Absolutely. Now here's the thing, and believe me, you just helped. You just started a freaking revolution. But here's the thing you said that I heard a close friend of mine say. And she mentioned this. And it was kind of like, initially I was like going through the whole piece of unraveling what it was. She was with somebody for 6 years. She would keep saying, I can't get that time back. And she's in her late 40s. And I did, until you just said what you said entirely. I heard it because sometimes guys hear things like, okay, well, at least you move on, at least you got your help, at least this, that, and the other didn't happen. But when a grown ass woman says, I can't get that time back, I get it now. And I didn't hear it before until you mentioned all the aspects. The reason I mention marriage, I never mentioned marriage about having a ring in a ceremony. I mentioned marriage to people because, and it's not saying guys don't do trifling shit when they're married, but something happens in the midst of marriage that locks in certain things. I am glad that you were able to find a way to make sure, but you said some key things. And this is for a lot of women out there. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland, Baltimore, DC area. An area where it could be a 20-to-1 ratio, but those women also are very, the average African-American woman with college degree, study, And you said you had property, you had things. I knew enough to put my stuff in order, take them off when things seemed a little shady. And early off, did you see anything that made you say, but I love him anyway?
No. It's interesting because it's interesting because women, there are things that I thought I tolerated that I normally wouldn't have, but it never had to do with another person. And there was only one time when I was out on the road with him and one of the dancers said something slick. Now, remember, I toured for like 10 years too. So I've seen all these men in their multi-relationships in different states and cities. And I said to him, even in the beginning of the relationship, I better not see it, smell it, taste it, feel it, and I better not be disrespected ever. So you better hide it really well, which is what he did until the end. Um, but I don't think I brush things on the side just to keep a man or just to keep a companion, or I've never done that. And the thing is I'm a very loyal person in a relationship because I love being single too. And everybody like if I'm dating 10 and everybody knows about the 10 and whoever it is. If I'm in a relationship, then it's me and you. And my 90s were wild, so I was cool to finally find somebody that I could have peace and slow down with. And I guess whenever he decided to have his midlife crisis, it just is what it is. But the thing about marriage is one is you have to be careful when you say to people,
Oh, this cat is older. He's older than you.
no, he's younger than me, actually.
Oh, okay.
He's younger than me. But he's old enough to know better. You know what I'm saying? He's not a child. But
Right.
um, women should not be made to feel bad for not wanting to get married, or be married or don't have kids. People tend to look at you, oh, so you never been married or you don't have any kids. And I say that for men too, that if a man in his 40s or 50s has never been married or doesn't have kids, that doesn't mean he's gay. That doesn't mean something's wrong with him. He just has made a smart choice that he wants to be a bachelor, or that he knows he likes his privacy, or he likes to be by himself, or whatever you know about yourself. You shouldn't be convicted because the stigma of marriage or the stigma of being a mother. And then you also have to be careful of when you say to somebody, well, how come you don't have any kids? I did that mistake when somebody got married. So when y'all gonna have kids or whatever, and this woman broke down and cried because she had 3 miscarriages, and you know what I'm saying? You don't know what anybody's struggle is. So for somebody to just blurt it out because people are so used to it, you have to be so careful because you don't know what the journey or the story is. But no, to answer your question, I'm not somebody who's afraid to be alone. I did not accept a whole lot of bad behavior that now I'm going, oh, I saw the signs or whatever. I'm not that chick. I'm not. So I think me giving him a second chance and us going to therapy was a hard pill for me to swallow. And that's why I knew I had no peace. And I just was like, I got to get him out of my house. I can't do it. I can't do it. Because now you look at that person completely different and you know you can never trust them. And when you see what they're capable of doing, no, it's not because you were hurting. I don't believe that bullshit. I just, clearly something changed, and instead of him opting out, I just don't understand. Now you got to clear out. Why do you want to stay? Begging to stay. I just don't understand. I don't understand that.
And that's something where we got to unpack. So we're gonna do a part 3. No, no. The reason I let you flow in this is, one, that's kind of the relationship thing. I can talk about it all night. But you've said certain things for me to hear to get it in another sense, and hopefully you've helped somebody. And like I say, I don't know dude, and even if I do, I don't know where. But the reason I say this is because you said something key that held precedence. You said the time that he made the promises he made, I can't get back, and the fact that I can't get back my fertility, I can't bring back this, that, and the other. And you open yourself up to so much, let alone the day and age it is. We already know about AIDS and everything, stuff like that. Now we realizing you breathe on somebody, take it home, and you kill them. We used to joke about this kind of stuff. It's gonna be you'll cough on somebody, and, oh man, it is happening.
Think about it now, though. You have a daughter. So imagine your daughter comes to you with this story that I'm telling you about the guy who sat at your dinner table, eating with you during the holidays, telling you he loves your daughter, like he told my parents. Your parents and his parents are hanging out together for years and decades and visiting each other, and y'all start trying to start a family and stuff. And then you realize this man has done your daughter dirty, that he put your daughter's health at risk by having unprotected sex with how many other women, that he could have had another child. How do you look at this man who still comes into your house and has done this to your daughter. What do you say? What do you do? Right. Look at your face.
What do I what do I do? First off, after all that, first off, after all this starts coming out, even the first time, 15, was he still trying to talk to your parents or your mom, or still? Because
go ahead.
Yeah, because it changes everything. I don't know, and I don't know if your parents or your you said your pop. Did you know?
My mother, my mother, my stepfather. Right. I know my dad. He passed.
Right. So your mother and your stepfather, were they also a part of the crew that was like, you know what, give him another chance?
My mother at first was like, fuck this motherfucker, keep him around, let him pay the bills. And it's different from her saying it than the way my grandmother would have said it. I think my grandmother might have said it on some real gangster shit, get you another
keep your knife under the pillow, baby.
Right.
The grandpa, but keep your knife near his neck when he sleeps.
Right. He's like, but my mother was just like, until you figure out what you're going to do, let him keep paying the bills. But you don't understand what that looks like, to have somebody lying who doesn't know that they're lying to you, who doesn't know that you know that they're lying to you, walk past you every day, kiss them every day. So I kept quiet for about a month or two while I was putting my finances and everything in order, letting him keep the bills, and I couldn't do it anymore because I knew what the lies were. I knew what the story was. And that's the part that you really, where you're about to explode, where you want to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and stab somebody in their sleep. Like, I can't believe that this motherfucker thinks that I'm the sucker that I've been, because I was vulnerable enough in this relationship that I trusted you and that I loved you enough that I would have given you a kidney. That I, you know what I'm saying?
I'm not laughing. I'm not laughing at you, Les, but my girl watches Snap and all this stuff she's talking about. I was like, why are you watching Snap? It all fucking makes sense now.
I'm the most rational person in the world.
Like, I'm like, what is you? You can't sleep right without, no, it's good to just see how things go down when people just lose it. And I was like,
it's just that disloyalty changes you to a point where you can't believe that somebody would do this to you.
Here's the thing. Let me say this, Les, because I know somebody's looking at this like, man, she's talking a while about this, that, and other. There's no guy I know that, no, I maybe know 2 or 3 that stuck around, this, that, and other. But the majority of men you talk to, if you talk to a man head over heels about Les, this, that, and other, this man goes online, he sees Les's legs wrapped around somebody's neck, and it's not a music video. This ain't humping around. Right. This is, Les is doing full, for a guy to imagine. I remember just the imagination of us thinking that our woman was ... It's not a proclivity. That is a lack of love. That is the embodiment. I don't give a fuck how long he was there, of not knowing how to love somebody, not have, because when you love someone, it's very. I sound like I'm about to sing it, hopping around. When you love someone,
right.
So it's totally different. But you've opened up, like I said, we talked hours about this. We going on hour, but you've opened up something that I did not. I always learn something new when I'm talking about relationships, but from a standpoint of looking at someone's health and say, well, at least you've moved on, at least you did this. And I'll hear this person keep saying, I can't get those years. And she was talking about 6. She wasn't talking about 17. So I get it. I get it now with the whole snaps. And I get it, because guys, many a guy are locked up for, in Baltimore, we got stories where cops left. They wasn't with the woman. This one cop rolled up on the dude and his wife or ex-wife, whatever, when he left, and said, yo, you need to stay away from her or I'm going to kill you. He said this in front of a house full of people and left. Next time he saw them together, killed her, him. I mean, he's doing life, but he told him.
Right.
We see it all the time. We've heard of it all the time. All kinds of stuff. Playing with somebody's emotions, stuff like that. I'm big on, letting people know up front. Am I above have I been above doing some dirt? I mean, I've done my dirt like the next person. But there has to be a time when you understand what love is, or you're going to continue to damage people. You can't tell me that I'm in love with my wife, but if you're in love with somebody and you have one person that you deal with, that's a whole bunch of work that has to be done. You telling me dude was globetrotting.
My thing is if you feel like, because we were 6 or 7 years apart, him younger. So even if I got you young and you feel like you're missing out on some life, or that you wish that you had, had another relationship with other people just to see what it is, then you say that.
Things he said in his diary, what he said, or you're just assuming?
No, I'm assuming by his actions. But my thing is we had talked about, if ever you feel like you want out or you need to break up or you whatever, then let's talk about it. And he would talk to me about one of his good friends was having an affair. She was having an affair on her husband, and he would bring it up all the time, I guess, to see my reaction, because he was doing the same thing. So if that's not narcissism at its finest, I don't know what is. I just didn't know it at the time, that the both of them knew of each other's affairs and were like in cahoots. And it's one thing to imagine your person with somebody else, but when you see the receipts of the flowers they bought, the plane tickets they bought, the hotel room they bought, the this that they bought, and all that other stuff, and then you see the conversations for years and years and years, and you're like, wait, we were at your mother's house. This was my birthday. We were on vacation. And it's all these moments that you're just like, and you had the best time, but when were you unhappy? And why didn't you say it? And you could have saved all of this time and had a whole other life 10 years ago, 8 years
That's
ago.
that's the thing that trips you out. It's an individuality thing. There is no reasoning. You know what that's like? That's like when I hear people talk about how in the world did Jeffrey Dahmer to kill people and then eat them? That makes no sense to me. Baby, that's why crazy is in the dictionary.
Absolutely.
You will never understand in the mind of thinking about all you gave. But I gave you all of me, my time, my this, you on this. We had a life together. Yeah, we weren't married, but we had that. It all makes sense. Because when you walk away from, like I say, guys think differently. I had a relationship where I knew going in there was wrong. Yeah, her and I separated, living in the same house. That was the story I was told. We separated, living in the same. I'm out in 2 years. How about you in 2 years? But in that 2 years, we became closer and closer. Next thing you know, we're in a relationship. She making promises like a champ, gorgeous. But when it all hit the fan and dude wanted back, she went back. And I'm sitting there like, wait now. Aren't we supposed to be doing A, B, C, D? But I knew in that case that, okay, you went on her word. You went on this. You went on what she told you. But when I looked at her life, I was like, how do I know that I just wasn't the guy on the side?
Mm.
You never know what's being, because everything to you is like, yeah, everything, we just that and other. And then you go over here, or she go over here, and she's talking to the dude, and you're thinking, oh, this is really what it is. After it was all said and done, I kind of laughed about it and said to God, God, you got me on that one. I know I was wrong. Because it's like, in my choosing was this. And also, 17 years, both of y'all, if you work and if you're not working, both of y'all are busy. So 17 years with two creatives and two people that travel, stuff like that is 17 years, it's like 5 or 6 years to an average couple. Mm-hmm. So, all of the sudden, because it's this, and you're making it work and you're doing whatever. But I get it now.
It's interesting. My lawyer in mediation said, because he had to read all of the emails, diary entries, and all that stuff, and he said to me, as we're negotiating back and forth, he said, there's no question that this man loves you. And he said, and I think even today, if you said that you wanted to work it out with him, he would do it, because he was reading all of the, I don't want this to end, like all of his content. He said, men cheat, whether it's for ego, this, that, and the other. And I know you feel hurt by it, but you got to know that he loves you, which is probably why he settled at the number he did. And I'm just like, it doesn't matter. You don't do that to people that you say that you love.
Was
Because,
this lawyer who said this a man?
yep.
Yeah. It. Let me explain something to you. And the lawyer can sue me later for slander, whatever he wants to. This is what I've learned. We have a picture of what we think love is. There's not eros and all these other kind of love is unconditional. What you were doing was unconditional. When you give, I had later asked, what are you willing to sacrifice? And I said, my freedom. And I didn't know where that came from. But like I said, I was saying in the meeting when I did the streaming piece earlier, I was talking to him. I was like, people need to know when I come to the table and looking at this woman, I'm also looking at her because I got an 8-year-old part of me that my blood runs through my daughter's veins, who I'm very attached to. So I'm looking at this woman for this unit. So you getting with somebody and you're giving all of yourself and you're giving up your freedoms. Like you said, you like to be single. You can go ahead and do whatever. You let me go. If you, what did Fantasia say? If you don't love me, then don't talk to me. Right. And I love that song. Go ahead and free yourself. Don't talk to me, because if I'm open to you, I'm open to you. And I get that after you've been hurt as a man and learn unconditional love for someone that's not your child, trying to do it, then you get it more. And it's like, man, but you said, but you did. But a man coming saying, I'm looking at this and how passionate he write. Man, if this guy's in the industry and is in music and song and stuff like that, look, I came up on the Stylistics, Luther Vandross, Lionel Richie. When I want to write out my feelings to somebody, I can make it look like the most beautiful book in the world. Has nothing to do with what love does. And I'm totally against someone saying, oh, but I'm looking at his words. No, that's not what love does. Let's stop calling it love. That's not love. Love don't do that. Nope. Love don't. It takes a fool to learn that love don't love nobody, because love is like this. You can't love like this. So you can't say, yeah, but I love you, and you continue down that path. So no, that was not love.
Yeah. Either way, I am proud of myself. I am stronger for it. My superwoman cape was in the closet. I'm not coming at the next man, like I got to look through your phone now. And who are you? Like I didn't do it before. I'm not doing it again. I'm open. And, I'll always follow my instincts. I mean, he was a good guy until he wasn't. So it is what it is.
And you can't live and to anybody, you can't live guarded. Live life, experience life, love life. The one thing they can say about love, there's not a bone about you that's bitter. I let you tell your story because nothing about you looks like what's what. I was getting stuff together. I said, so you single, Les? Yeah, now. I was like, what? So I was like, how long you was in a relationship? You're like 17 years. I came back and was like, say what? because when you hear somebody say they always got extras to add on it, and you didn't. You said, I'm talking about it in my book, and I thank you for giving the privilege of doing it. I know it's going to help somebody, because, like I said, it helped me in looking when I'm talking to people, and especially close people, to not write off, especially someone our age that says, when you start, I used to hear that I've given them the best years of my life. Like, what does that mean?
No, I got a whole. I'm ready for the second half. Are you kidding? I'm good. I'm just mad this pandemic is stopping my travel, but it's all good. So it'll allow me to just work on my productions and then come out of this, take off, and it's all good. So thank you for letting me purge and all of that, and for sharing yourself. So appreciate it.
That's what, hey, that's what I'm here for. That's a part of what I do. But I love the fact of you being open to do it, because, like I said, when you've been through something, we go through stuff. It's for us, but it's for other people. Like, somebody is that chick that's like, oh, so I shouldn't do this Snap episode 14? Somebody, right. Because, and you told them something that people don't know. You went to court and said, no, this guy, my life is worth something. That's a big deal. Like, that's a big thing that people don't know. No, my life is worth something. This guy took this, he lied to me, maliciously did this. And I remember when Clinton went through everything, and somebody mentioned, that until we make adultery a crime officially, this is going to be a hard way to convict this man.
Well,
And
it's different that's different in different states too, because even thinking about what you can do for the mistress, you can only attack or sue the mistress in 7 of 8 states. And don't think I didn't think about that either. California just happens not to be one of it, but I have other options too. And everybody's like, well, why go after the mistress? She didn't know. No, a bitch knows, and you make an adult decision to hurt somebody else. And you start coming for me as if I'm fucking your man. We got a problem that don't even concern him. Now it's me and you, and we're gonna have to work this out. But that will be for the book too, because that's to me.
this
But
girl done made a manual, and I'm here for it. It wasn't even like I said. I get it now, and I hope guys are listening to this. And if you're mindful of wanting to love a woman, wanting to be in love, or you have a woman, or you're out there doing some dumb shit, think about what's happening, and think about who are starting to run things and how this thing is going, because that's when you realize what's happening, when all of a sudden it hits your pocket and you're like, man, I guess I was very malicious. Oh yeah, because you don't know it. In business world, they do it. They'll sue you for malicious intent. You're like, why am I in here again?
mm-hmm. He was
So,
like, I hope it was worth it to him. And every time he got to write me a check, I hope you know it was worth it. That the person that was your best friend is now become your worst enemy, and you did it. No matter what you say, you did it. But it's all good. Enough about him. I've moved on. Life is good. I'm ready for who's next and what's next. And I'm glad I can smile about it and not cry about it, because that happened months ago. And I'm a whole new Leslie. So it is what it is. I won't be the first or the last to have had to wipe my tears. But I just tell women, wipe your tears and do what you need to do to find your peace. And if it means going to court or whatever, there'll never be another, like I said, there won't be a dollar figure in the world that will get all of that back. But it gave me some peace. And I can be like this now. That's what you get. And I don't even smoke. So.
He was like, but that's, I never even knew that. I never even knew that was an option for people. And I'm sure a lot of people didn't, especially because there's some people. Huh?
I said, and I can't just put it on the men. Human beings don't have to do that to other human beings. You can just be like, I'm out and be gone before anything starts to happen and you start to hurt and disrespect people. Just be like, I'm out. That hurt will heal. But all the vicious, malicious, sneaky, conniving, all that other stuff is so unnecessary. Like, okay. But anyway.
Well, thank you, Liz.
Thank you.
I want to know. Well, I don't want to end on that. Even though we've been rocking, I told you we are gonna be here. I was like, how much time you got, Les? Oh, a little bit.
It's all good. It's all
No,
good.
but I don't want to just end on that. I want to. What advice do you have to give coming out, because we're in a serious time? I'm glad you did get a chance to purge, because I mean, right around now and everything that's going on, and you said months. So with all this stuff that's going on and you're handling other stuff and stuff like that, that can be enough to wipe some people out. There's some people there's some kids that are coming around Thanksgiving. There's going to be a baby boom, I'm sure. But the other thing is, a lot of people are coming out of this because they've been quarantined with a person that they were just passing, and their relationship passing, going to work, dealing with the kids, right. or God forbid, the people that had abusive relationships. So for the women that are looking like, well, how do I get to that point? How do I get to this point? What? And I'm sure some of the stuff is going to be in your book. But I like the fact that you said you own property, you did different things, you did some smart things with your finances, you're doing things for you. What advice do you have for the woman that's kind of confused right now because she doesn't know where she stands right now, coming out of the quarantine? What's the best way for her to jumpstart into what she believes that she wants?
I think it's okay to be uncertain. It's okay to be fearful, because you have to sit in it and you have to recognize what the fear is and where it stems from, or you won't be able to move forward. Or if you try and ignore it, you're probably going to live in it longer as opposed to trying to find a solution or a way around it. It's so crazy that I was reading something and the divorce rates are so high, like the filings have increased by so much, especially here in California. This one guy said that he's gotten at least 1,200 filings for divorces. And people are they're either romanticizing the fact that they're all quarantined together and this is sexy and cute, or you're stuck with someone that you were already having problems with, or it's not looking like, you don't have those breaks in the day where you have time to yourself. And now with the kids home and you're homeschooling and all this other stuff. But you have to find who you are in the relationship you're in or in the scenario that you're in, and find out who you want to be when you get out of this, and make a plan to make steps toward who you want to be when all of this is over. That's all I can say.
Thank you, little lady.
Thank you.
I wanna be here for it. I want to see every piece. We're gonna see if we can get this. Would you do a remake? Would you do a Pam Grier remake?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a whole modern day version of it, of course, But yeah, right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, hey, they're looking for content. I'm letting all the directors and everyone know. She can still flip and kick. She got kicks all on her website. Check out. Yeah. How can people get in touch with you? Because I know people are going to want to talk to you, reach out to you, see what's going on. How can people get in touch with Big Les?
The same way you found me on my IG at I am Leslie Segar, LESLIE SEGAR. My website, lesliesegar.com. There's a contact there. I usually get the emails and stuff. My agent is on there. So you guys can find me. I'll be around. My YouTube page, all of that. Twitter's all the same. Thanks.
All right, we'll be talking to you. We gotta do a part 3 with it. I gotta bring you in just for a relationship live joint so we can just take some questions. I'm serious. So
I'm with it. It's interesting because when you share these stories with people, it's like, oh my gosh, she's damaged. I'm like, no, I'm not actually. I'm good. I was brokenhearted, but I'm not somebody who's resentful, or I'm resentful toward one person, not the whole species of men. So please know that. One person.
And you're not and that's the thing. I've talked to damaged people. I've talked to hurt people. I've talked to hurt men in a radio show back in DC area. And this guy was in the studio. Yes, you can't do that to somebody. This, that, another. Yeah. And it's Cheryl Robinson, live it, ...
Right.
That damage. That brother. We was like, yo, we on the, he's like, I don't care. She don't do that. How you going? Like I said, guys.
There's some men who are probably more broken and hurt and damaged than some women. Like they process the hurt completely different.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, and especially if there's like you said, yeah, you did a girl dirty, and when she gets you back, you are never the same again, ever. So.
Men don't believe me. We lose our mind. We talk about this, and a couple comedians said it before. Think about your girl. With Eddie Murphy said in Raw years ago. He's like, look all the guys saying. He said, now think about your girl with your best friend, and just the thought,
right,
of certain certain things and certain people talking. We can't handle what women have handled and been able to rebound from and stuff like that. So I'm thankful you did, because you said some key things, and now we're in a day and age where women are a lot more successful. A lot of times some women are with men who are doing whatever, and they're coming to the table. I know somebody married 25 years, 25 years married, going through all this stuff, talking about this, that, and other. I said, well, that's a lot to separate. He's like, oh, no, all that stuff is separate. You've been married 25 years, all your stuff is separate, because she was handling all the stuff, and she knew who this dude was early off, and she,
right.
So you got to be mindful of it. You hate that that's a part of the conversation, but just the fact that you said you brought him in on a lot of things, and y'all had stuff together, but talking about how you handle business, you brought a new light to some people that didn't know their options outside of Snapped. You got to go to jail.
You do. You have to think that the words divorce or separation or spousal support, all those words exist for a reason. And as much as we all go into this, this ain't going to happen to us or whatever, we've heard it even from parents. And even when you've seen your parents get divorced, something went wrong, and that the potential could be 0.5%, but the potential still exists, that you have to be prepared for it. And nothing is going to prepare you for the heartbreak and the tornado that comes in and, you know, makes everything just kind of dissipate. But at least if the foundation of when you decide to walk in another direction is already set, then it makes it a little bit easier to be like, all right, peace out, and I'm taking my toys with me, you know? Let me ask you, what do you think of men who break up or get divorced and then get married right away? Do you, or get in a relationship right away? Do you feel like that is a coping mechanism, or that they're set up for the next, that they were ready for this next person? And I guess every man differs. You know,
Every man is different, but I think a lot of times, some of those scenarios, women play like, because I've heard I've heard crazy scenarios where he was like, he never wanted to get married, then he meets this chick and instantly, and it's a number of things that happen. A bad relationship can be as beneficial for a person moving forward as good, more so than a good one, especially if they come out of it. A man with regret, I don't know how regret affects women if you lost an opportunity. But remember, men are hunters by nature. We're opportunists by nature. And a man who, if he does have a good heart, and we've hurt a real man, if he's hurt somebody, a part of us always wants to repair it. If we owe somebody, a part of us always wants to make sure that debt is paid. But a person that, you got to look at the person. Like, I have a friend, close friend. He told me right off. He said, Troy, I'm never alone. I've never been alone. So I'm usually the one that tries to make the relationship work, even if it's a bunch of arguing and stuff like that. I know dudes who love to argue. And I always tell a woman, if you meet a guy that loves to argue, if you want a real man and you meet a guy that loves to argue, that's a trait that's not in all men. So if he can go toe to toe with you in an argument, be careful. Because that means he's defensive by nature. I look at people who are easy to apologize. But if a man moves into a relationship right after another relationship, either the relationship was already there, either he does not want to be alone, or that's it. That's all I got. The relationship was already there, or he doesn't want to be alone. Because you don't just go into a relationship next, or some guys, well, that's a part of not wanting to be alone. So those two main reasons: either the relationship already existed, be it in some cases the person could have been platonic, but they were a good friend, but they were platonic, and then all of a sudden all this hurt, all this stuff makes them see this good friend as another light because they're always going to be there. So let me get with them.
Right.
Or women do it too. Women break the glass of that best friend that was that platonic, just dick in the glass, sitting there the whole time. It's like, Charlie's always been a good man. You got any wine? I just need to drink. I don't know who to talk to. I don't know what's going on. He's like, yeah, I'm putting my pajamas on now. I mean, my pants on. You know what I'm saying? So it's always that. But for a guy, in my opinion, either the person was already there, or he does not want to be alone. It usually, and if it's either one of those scenarios, it's fucked up, because men are supposed to take time, but we got ego, we got work, and if your boys are the type of boys, I'm of a different cuss. The guys I have around me, usually we can have some deep conversation, but when you got those boys like, man, let's get something to drink, go out here and get this thing, and you got to hit the road, or if he's living the life, or if they pour back into work, but if they get back in another relationship, the person was already there, well, they don't want to be alone.
Yeah. But I think women can be the same way. I think women will take their time a little bit longer. It depends. I think women of a certain age will settle just to have a warm body, which ain't me. Or women will just be like, well, I'm chilling. I'm ready for the next adventure, which is me. So,
but I know sisters that have taken a hiatus 6 years, 7 years. We hear all the time. Going through therapy, getting their heads together. Would you say?
So we ain't doing that.
Right. How long? What? It's like, no.
Oh, hiatus. What? I'm mad that I'm on this COVID cock-blocking
quarantine. You on the phone. It's like, no, I can't come by right now. It's like, no, I'm healthy though. Hello? I'm healthy though. Hello?
COVID is the cock blocker of 2020 for sure. Like, who signed up for this celibacy? I don't care if it's been 3 weeks.
You
Well,
said you had plans. You, it's like God said, you wanted to write your book. Right. But I need
exactly.
some.
My God, I get it. I get it. That's what I'm gonna do. So, well, thank you so much, Tori. This has been fun.
Thank you. Thank you for being real. And I'm sure you endeared a bunch of people to you. I'm serious. We got to get on here and do some relationship stuff to help people out, because there's some people, it's especially this new millennium mature woman who's like, yo, is something wrong? I'm successful. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. What's wrong? Ain't nothing wrong. And
Oh, no.
and these sisters may have been dodging a lot of bullets, and they don't know. They've been dodging a lot of bullets because you just can't move. You get to a certain level, you just can't move the same. Like Biggie said, more money, more problems, more situations.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
It's very true. So,
All
well,
right. All right, Leslie, her part two has been your part one and part two. You have officially taken over the longest spot because you start talking to me about relationships. I'm like,
and we can talk all day, and I'm like, oh God, the sun will be up in a minute. Like, yeah, I want to tell all my business. Like, I say stuff for the book
no,
and the
no.
documentary.
I was gonna say that earlier, but I was like, but you started saying some key stuff, and you see somebody when you see them do the wait until exhale, Angela Bassett.
Yeah.
When you see that, like,
Yeah.
so anybody that's thinking about hiring, you saw it. Y'all saw it. She shifted. She showed the personality. She showed it, but then saved the victorious part. You almost played it like a book. I thought I gotta check and see if it's real facts, because you played it like a book. It was like, no, but I took him to court and handled it. And now I was like, wait.
Thing is when you get, and the thing is like, and I'm not doing this to bash whoever. This is my story, and it is what it is. And if you don't like what I have to say, then you shouldn't have done the behavior. And the thing is I don't have to lie, because I can prove everything that I'm saying, and that's going to be the scary part for the other people, whether it's him or the other people who cross me, is that I can prove everything. So it's like, be mad if you want, try a defamation suit if you want to. I dare you. I implore you. Go ahead. But
Can't file a
I'm doing
ask Michael
it for
Moore. You
me.
can't file a defamation suit when you got the evidence.
Absolutely. And it's just for me. I'm here to share and teach people along the way. I'm an open book at this stage and at this age. And it is what it is. It's part of my story. I'm not running from it. I'm not hiding from it. It is what it is. So let's go. Ready for the next
But
chapter.
I am a man who deals on a relationship tip, and I'm telling you, you have said some information. Now, even in the wording below, people will see some relationship. Les gets open about some relationship key things that can help somebody, because I know so many women in influential positions, and they're doing a lot of things, and this can help the next person. That somebody's laying up with the person now. You know what I'm saying? Somebody's laying up. Somebody's watching this in bed, and then took her phone into the living room and wiping tears, like, oh shit, I can sue him.
Right.
Took away. You know, but yeah, and you're an entity. Your name is a business. You know what I'm saying? So you're an entity. You're not just yourself. So those things hold weight. But also, like I said, you don't look like what you've been through, and you've given encouraging words to people moving forward. Take this time, use it wisely, because we won't always have this time. And on the other side, you hate to sound morbid, but we realize we don't have a lot of time. You know what I'm saying? Life goes quick. You mentioned something. You mentioned about a dancer that I love. You mentioned you. I was like, oh man, you got to put up a prayer for him. You said, and that was something key you said. So you got to do part 3, Les. We're gonna be on here for 2 hours. That was something key you said, because I didn't know. You said, you connect you with other people, and you're like, nah. Sure, you got to realize we all went our separate ways according to life. So we may hear about certain things, but we don't. Everybody don't stay in contact. You don't always finish with who you start with. So.
Yeah. There was one thing, and then we'll wrap it up, that I saw on Instagram that had to do with how precious time was. And it was a guy who said, think of your parents, that you go home and you see your parents maybe once, twice a year, which means now that you only have maybe 6 visits with your parents. If they're older, if your parents are in their 70s or 80s, you may have 6 visits left with your parents. So when you think about I'm only going to see my parents 6 more times, forget Skype, forget FaceTime. 6 visits if you only go home twice a year and your parents are in their 70s or 80s. You need to go home more often. And that struck me. And right now I'm stuck because I can't get to New York to see my mother. So I'm really panicking. And my mom's, in her 80s and she's fabulous and she works out, but anything can happen. And I've spent the last traveling, like my mom's one of my big travel partners. We've done Egypt and Africa and all these places together, but that's my girl. So being trapped here is really hard. And so time is of the essence. Don't take it for granted. If you only get home twice a year, you better start getting home 6 times a year so that you can have 6 times 6 times 6 or whatever that looks like left with your parents. So, and that's it. Part 3 or whatever when we get together again. Thank you so much.
Anytime. My door is always open to you. We're gonna keep this rolling. Leslie Segar. I am Leslie Segar on Instagram. Leslie Segar, Segar. Website, lesliesegar.com. Big Les, check it out. Thank you so much for taking time out with me, girl.
Be safe, everybody. Be safe. Take care of yourself. Bye, y'all.
See you soon.
Bye.